So, it has been around 3 months since my last upload of making a character. And I can with certainty say that the process of retopologizing was maybe the hardest and longest process I've ever experienced so far making a low poly model. And I'm about to give a short talk on why you shouldn't approach it the way I did. Before I start explaining my tedious adventure, I'll give a short explanation as to why I needed to make a low poly version of my character. In my last video, I made a sculpt of the character that looked mostly finished. Just not finished enough that I can move it around while my computer does not explode from repositioning the millions of points my model consists of. So the solution is that I make a version of the model that has a fraction of what it consisted of previously. And from that, my computer can now much more easily work with the model without dying of heat. And not to worry, all of the smaller details from the high poly model will not be lost, because in a future video, I'll make a time lapse where I start texturing the model and project the high poly model onto the low poly model, while still keeping all of the shapes the sculpt had. Now that I have explained why I need to retopologize, I will now begin telling you about my experience, and why I do not recommend manually placing all the squares. Now, placing and putting polygons on a model is not the hard part of making a character. If it was that easy, I would have been done months ago. The thing that I always had to be aware of was putting the polys where it made sense, so you did not lose important shapes like the nose area. And then I also have to mention the good old topology flow, making sure that all of the polys were connected in a certain order so it can allow the model to be deformed in a special way and make the model much more manageable to unwrap, skin, texturing, and so on. That was the most challenging part of figuring out how they all fit together into mostly a single object. Throughout the project, I have to mostly rely on trial and error until I got close to my desired model, which then led to me being stuck a lot of times when I ran into complex shapes like the ear and hands, in which I sadly had to force myself to leave a triangle so I could be done with it and continue. Now, triangles are not evil and does not ruin the overall model. That is as long as you don't put it where you need to select an important edge flow, where I also have to give in to some parts where it just became too difficult by not knowing the many ways to approach modeling. So, I do believe that one is going to run into these many obstacles no matter what, and to compensate the times where you have to fix the bad topology, I'm now fully convinced to never do it manually alone, and to start using the scripts and add-ons that are made especially to avoid using half your life moving each point at a time. There are extensions out there that are in level with industry standard software that can help your process tremendously. They can turn expensive, but I'm still fully set on buying it if it means I can skip the process of retopology. So I'm ending this by saying that don't try to be cool unless you have a lot of time in your hands. Get yourself a generator and move on. That was it for now. I will see you in the next video when I'm starting to set up the rig for our character.